I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Paul Finebaum cooked with this take. Now, obviously, y'all he was talking about USC head coach Lincoln Riley, but he 100% was on point. He says, and you ask the question why? Because he is simply underperformed. He had a pretty decent first year, but since then it has been very rocky. And quite frankly, I think he would already be gone if it wasn't for an $80 million buyout. Even for Southern Cal, that might be too much money. And we see it obviously with them in the rivalry. Potentially not having that with Notre Dame. That's a historic rivalry, obviously, in college football in the NCAA, when it comes to the sport. We saw a team last year that had a pretty good early, game against LSU, right? But this team is completely different when you look at last year compared to this year, right? That was kind of that first game was Woody Marks' coming out party, right? He ends up transferring, right? He built off for 2 touchdowns. You have Miller Moss, who looked like he was going to be quarterback in the future. He's now at Louisville, right? You had Zachariah Branch, who had a pretty decent game. He's now at Georgia. So it's like with so many transfers, new guys coming in, how does USC do it? Now, they're doing pretty good with this recruiting class. Number one, obviously, in the 2026 class. But how will 2025 look? You know what I'm saying? Who's going to be the true freshman that step up for him early and often? Now, for the Trojans, right, you got a new quarterback in Jaden Mayava who's coming in, right? But what is his chemistry going to be with guys like Makai Lemon? You know what I'm saying? With his season he had last year, 764 yards receiving, right? Jacoby Lane has been, tasked by a lot of pundits as that next guy up. Wide receiver 2 last year, obviously to Zachariah Branch, but he's coming back. He's been productive. Of course, his career he has 14 touchdowns and 618 yards. But can he be wide receiver 1 in this offense? How quickly can that chemistry between him and the quarterback come to snuff, right? It's a lot of questions. And then on top of that, they got a tough schedule, right? You know what I'm saying? They got different parts of the schedule that's very, very hard. Because remember, they're not in the Pac-12. They are in the Big Ten. So they're playing some of the upper echelon teams this year. And they got a 4 to 5 game stretch, which we talked about in other videos, that's going to really determine their season. Can they go 3-1 during that stretch? You know what I'm saying? Can they be competitive, right? All that stuff is going to matter. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, the Big Ten is looked at in a higher light, but you got to handle your business, So that's some kind of question marks around USC. And then it's obviously like, can your defense be better? You know what I'm saying? And like Joel Klatt said, it was 7-5. You cannot go 7-5 this year. You got to win between 9 and 10 games this year if you're USC, and if obviously he's going to keep his job. But to Finebaum's point, an $80 million payout is a lot to keep a coach. You know what I'm saying? Or to get rid of a coach. So I think that's why he's been there. But you got to hit. You got to hope Mayava hits. You got to hope some of your freshman guys can come in and contribute early and often. You're doing obviously an outstanding job in this recruiting class, as I mentioned earlier in the video. But he's definitely right. The pressure is on Lincoln Riley more than anybody. You go Lincoln Riley, you obviously go Billy Napier in there as well. Can Florida take that next step finally? You go obviously LSU head coach Brian Kelly. He has a lot of pressure as well with obviously the Tigers. So you got to be able to handle your business and do what you need to do. But this is a big year for USC. You know what I'm saying? They cannot play around. Like I said, they got to get that 9-10 range, and they got to finally be in that conversation for a college football playoff. If not, I think Riley's gone. That's why I said Paul Finebaum cooked with his take. But let me know down in the comments what y'all think.